And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Just a quick live stream, basically it's just on the eve of the Old Firm, just have a little chat, basically talk about the game that's obviously coming up tomorrow night, sorry, and just get your guys' thoughts and opinions, give my sort of thoughts and opinions on the match coming up, and just talk about it. If you guys watching this on a replay, please do smash the like button. And, of course, do subscribe to the channel. Let's see who we've got in here already. Good to see you all, guys. First things first, if you can get your score predictions down there in the live chat, I want to see what everybody's thinking ahead of tonight's game. I cannot wait for it. Two derby games already played tonight. Obviously, the Edinburgh derby ended 0-0. We watched that live here on the stream. And, of course, the Dundee derby ended 0-0. So hoping it's not a sign for more things to come across the Old Firm tonight. Let's go through some of the fundamentals, though, of tomorrow night's game. As Celtic obviously hosting Rangers. Tomorrow, obviously, it's going to be 60,000 Celtic fans. No Rangers fans in attendance. And Celtic are hosting Rangers for the first time this season. The last Old Firm derby obviously ended 1-0 to Rangers. And I think Rangers are unbeaten in this fixture since December 2019, and that was when Celtic beat Rangers in the League Cup final. So obviously looking to try and end that hoodoo. The last time this game was played at Celtic Park, Rangers won both fixtures last season, so didn't have a problem last year, and the year before that, I think as well, they won on New Year's Eve, or just before New Year's Eve, and that was obviously against Celtic at Celtic Park. 2-1 the score was that day. I think Ryan Kent scored the goal for Rangers, and can't remember the other player, but yeah, Ryan Kent I'm sure scored the win. It was the gun thing that he was doing, Celtic looking to try and end that hoodoo, and there's a massive carrot on the other end. If they manage to get a win, they can go top of the table for the first time this season. Celtic haven't even been top this year so far across the whole of the domestic campaign. Obviously losing the opening match of the season to Hearts. So yeah, this is the first time. And it is a big carrot. It's a big carrot considering, 3 sort of league games ago, they were 6 points behind. This could be, a change in fortunes in terms of the derby matches. Rangers, it's a chance to regain that sort of points advantage again. After dropping, especially the game against Ross County, dropping those 2 points was really, really bad. It's another chance for Rangers to try and open that gap again and get themselves going again for the second half of the season. And so far, it hasn't been the best in terms of results. But good to see everybody in here, guys. I know it's a late live stream. As I say, it is the eve of the Old Firm. I'm just going to see what everybody's saying down here. Finley says, more than a sentence put on. 1-0 to Rangers, says Scatchy. Matt Gunner says, Celtic 1, Rangers 4. Kieran says 2-0 Celtic. Jason Lee says 1-0 Celtic. Martin Ross says 3-1 Celtic. King Handsome says Celtic win tomorrow. Rangers fans will be out there. Ref and 2 linesmen. Graham Brown says 3-1 to Rangers. Celtic to win 2-0. Kieran says 5-0 to Celtic. So we've got a mixed bag here in the live stream so far as to what people are thinking ahead of for tomorrow night's game. Okay, so what else could we talk about? So in terms of lineups, there has been a lot of talk. You've probably heard it on your respective forums. Obviously, it was Celtic, the content creator, Celtic forums and stuff like that. They'll probably give you the lowdown on what's going to happen, who's going to be available, and the same with the Rangers side. But of course, at the moment, I think in terms of people being out, and my predicted 11, what I will go for on both of the sides. If I was Celtic and the team was fully fit, the team wasn't fully fit, the team that they have available, I would probably be going something like Joe Hart in goal, Juranovic out on the left, Carter Vickers and centre-back, Starfelt centre-back, right-back Ralston. In the midfield, again, there is talk that Rogic could fly in tomorrow morning. I'm not sure about that, but I personally probably wouldn't start him in a game like that. So in terms of the midfield, Celtics are kind of scarce for options if Rogic isn't there, and if Callum McGregor isn't available. There is talk that Callum McGregor could be available for tomorrow night's game, but we'll look to see what will happen. So it looks like Callum McGregor, I don't know, I'm going to not include Callum McGregor for now, but I would think Celtic's midfield will probably be something like McCarthy, Rio Atate and Matt O'Reilly as the midfield. Of course, Nia Beaton is suspended for picking up a red card in that match against Dundee United. And then up top, you've probably got to go for Jota and Giakoumakis. And on the right, you're going to go for Lila Barda, probably over James Forrest. So yeah, Jota, Giakoumakis and Lila Barda as the front three for Celtic is what I would probably go. There is talk again that Daisen Maeda could be into the team. He could not be in the team. I've seen pictures circulating that someone's mum works at Glasgow airport and sent this Japanese private jet from Japan jet in this morning, or fly in this afternoon, or scheduled to fly in at some point against Saudi Arabia for Japan. So again, I probably wouldn't start him if I was Celtic. So you'd probably be going Giakoumakis up top there from a Celtic point of view. Obviously, if you can try and get a fit Rogic ready to go, a Callum McGregor who's ready to go, and a Maeda ready to go, they could be definitely really, really good impact players going into the game and could provide something more. As for Rangers, guys, I would go Alan McGregor in goal. A lot of people talking maybe he should get dropped because of what happened against Ross County. Look, it's a one-off, it's a blip. You're allowed mistakes now and then. He's proved time and time again that he can come back from a setback. And to be fair, I think Alan McGregor is Rangers' best chance of winning in goal. I think Alan McGregor, when it matters, he knows what the game's about. He understands the pressure, and he will deliver the goods in that game. As for the back line, you're going to go with Tavernier on the right. In the centre-back, I would go Goldson and Leon Balogun. There's reports that Leon Balogun is fit. I know Bassey has impressed, but look, you want to go with Leon Balogun. He's more of a centre-back than Calvin Bassey, so I would start Leon Balogun. And then out on the left, you're going to have Barisic. And then if he's not performing, he's been a bit hot and cold so far this season, Barisic, you can maybe then bring on Bassey if needs be. In the midfield, this is the important part. I know a lot of Rangers fans talking about Aaron Ramsey. I don't think he'll be fit to play for tomorrow. As I say, he played 112 minutes games of football, and he already said in his interview with Rangers TV that the Old Firm derby will probably be too soon for him. So midfield for me, for Rangers, is going to be Kamara. I'll go Kamara, Arfield, and Joe Aribo. That'll be my midfield three there for Rangers. And then up top, this is very, very important. And I'm not going to keep on going into it anymore because it's probably getting to the point where people are getting bored of my opinion and keep on saying it. The front three cannot include Cedric Itten. I'm sorry. It cannot. The front three is going to be as follows. It's Ryan Kent. It's going to be Diallo for his performance against Ross County. And then up top, you're going to have Kemar Roofe. Kemar Roofe is the guy who's going to put away opportunities if they come that way. Cedric Itten cannot start. I'm going to restate it again. For those of you that didn't know my opinion already, if Cedric Itten starts, like starting a game with 10 men, because he doesn't fit into Rangers' system. He's not that he's a bad player, he just doesn't fit into Rangers' system. And as I say, it's almost like starting a game with 10 men. So yeah, I would say keep Cedric Itten away, keep Kemar Roofe there. He only needs one opportunity and he can score a goal, and he can be the difference maker in games. So yeah, if you're Rangers, keep Itten away and get Kemar Roofe in that front three. From a Celtic perspective and a Rangers perspective, guys, I want to know what your front three is going to be. Who's your front three in your team? And I'll read some of them out in the live chat, guys, what everybody's sort of thinking ahead of tomorrow night. I'm going to go take some comments, see what everybody's thinking. But yeah, I'm soon to get to my score prediction very, very soon. 2 seconds. Let's see what everybody else is saying here in the live chat. Abada and Jota are going to be a key for Celtic. Boo Dan says Kim Young. I know you love Itten, but my goodness me, can't start that game. No bias here. Out with a scrape it by a single goal. Matt Gunner says Ange would be silly to risk Calmac. Could put him out for the rest of the season. But look, these days they have those. These days they have those masks, those fiber masks that provide that protection, and that's what they're designed for. So you can play games. Rugby players wear them a lot, and and all the rest of it. Who else we got here? Andy Brown says Rangers, mate. McCarthy is a big disadvantage in the midfield. I'd rather have an injured Callum McGregor, says Finlay 67. Again, I think both teams have got like sort of weak points in the game. If you want to look at it that way, I do agree with what Finlay 67's just said there. I do think I know Callum McGregor could probably come in, and Rogic could come in, but Rogic is on a flight. He's returning back from Australia. I do think from a Celtic perspective, the midfield is probably the weakest going into this one. There's a lot of players out. McCarthy for me just hasn't really done it since arriving in Glasgow. He just hasn't done it for me. I don't think he's... I'm not going to say he's good enough. I think he's just kind of past it. Do you know what I mean? There's better options within the midfield. But I agree with Finlay 67 there. I do believe that's Celtic's weak point. In terms of Rangers, I think where Rangers are going to be fragile is maybe the defence. And maybe... I don't think the striking option, but if Kemar Roofe isn't fit... and they've gone with Cedric Itten, I seriously think that's a massive problem for Rangers. I really do. I've been saying it since last season, watching Rangers when Itten starts. It's like playing with 10 men. And again, I'm going to reiterate, it's not that he's a bad player. He just doesn't fit into Rangers' system and what Rangers are all about. Kemar Roofe is that better option. But defensively, obviously, it's been well documented, Rangers' defensive sort of problems. I say problems, it's not been that bad. They've kept a lot of clean sheets, especially when Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has come through the door. But look, a lot of injuries have taken place. That side that conceded 13 goals last season, was Hollander, Leon Balogun and Goldson. They were the three defenders. They were the three centre-backs that were doing business for Rangers last year, and two of those have been out injured for a long period of time. You think of Philippe Hollander and you think of Leon Balogun. So those two, I think the defence it could be a problem for Rangers. As I say, talk that Leon Balogun could come back, but how fit is he going to be? How match sharp is he going to be? So that's going to be interesting. So for me, Celtic's midfield's a bit weak, and for me, Rangers' defence is a bit iffy going into this game. Should that be the problem? Let's have a little an idea of people's front threes. I asked people's front threes on who they wanted, both from the Celtic side and both from the Rangers side. Some Rangers fans saying Kent, Roofe and Diallo. More than a certain Dan loves Itten, really. Jason Lee says Abada, Guaca, Giakoumakis, Jota, Maeda and Striker, says Finlay. Itten is a bigger disadvantage for Rangers. Idefo, Itten's pish. Guys, sorry, I don't like to be that guy. Kevin Casey says Kyogo will start. Look, there is the thing about Ange Postecoglou this year. He has kept his cards rather close to his chest, and whether he's Kyogo looks like he's injured, and in my opinion, I don't think he is going to make it. I don't think that's smoke. But look, there could be a possibility this season. We have seen Ange Postecoglou keep his cards close to his chest. Could Kyogo be used as a trump card tomorrow? You never know. You never know what's going on over at Celtic. As I said, Ange Postecoglou has time and time again sort of bluffed on occasions. But I do actually think Kyogo's injured just because of the link up with Japan and all the rest of it. I just don't think he's going to be ready for that game. Kent, Roofe and Wright, says Alexander Morrison. For Rangers' perspective, for me, Wright's more of an impact player, not a starter for me. Not a starter at all. I don't know how you're looking to put in, maybe, again, it's your opinion, but how can you not look at Diallo's performance against Ross County and go, right, you're going in? He was a breath of fresh air going into that front three for Rangers, and I think he offers a lot more. Diallo's got to go in there for Rangers, definitely. Who else have we got in here? Who else is saying? A lot of people saying Kyogo out to the end of the season. Someone says there. Kent, Roofe and Diallo, Rangers say. Nathan says Abada, Giakoumakis and Jota. He's out for a few more weeks, same as Turnbull. Giakoumakis is rank. He can't play the Rangers game. It's too big for him. He's okay, I think. He scored 2 goals in a couple of games. It's that same situation at the moment. You got Giakoumakis, you got Itten. Giakoumakis is a better version of Itten. At least Giakoumakis is scoring. Itten hasn't even scored. He doesn't even look like he's going to score. Alex Lowry, the young lad, was sticking balls in all night to him, all night in through the defence against Livingston, and there wasn't a striker. That's what the striker gets paid for, to just tap that into the back of the net, and he wasn't doing that. So for me, there's no way Itten can start. Cameron Callis says, Roof is the only available forward. I trust to finish any chances that comes his way. He must start. Again, yeah, so a lot of Rangers fans agree with me with that one. Diallo, for a fact, he proved he can beat class defenders. Again, right, okay, enough about the front threes. Let's go through some of the business here in terms of the actual match itself. Right, there's a lot of talk. Okay, we're going to go for Celtic first, because obviously the home side. Celtic are on a decent winning run. They are on a 5-game winning run, in fact. Their run stretches back from Boxing Day, where they beat St Johnstone. The last time they dropped points was St Mirren at home, but that was a very depleted Celtic side. If you have a look at the actual lineup that day and who Celtic had in their team, their starting 11 was Scott Bain, Scales, Welsh, Carter Vickers, Ralston, Beaton, Mikey Johnson, Rogic, McGregor, Moffat, and Leela Barda. So yeah, very depleted Celtic side there. However, they did manage to get a win against St Johnstone 3-1 rather comfortably. Then beat Hibernian, returning back from the winter break 2-0. Again, really, really comfortable for me. They didn't show any signs. And now this is where it slightly gets a bit interesting. Celtic obviously got another win against Alloa. An amazing first half, and what you expect in the first half against Alloa. You know, you're playing a lower side, but it did get a bit iffy towards the end. I know Alloa managed to get a goal back and all the rest of it. Celtic didn't look like they were ever going to they didn't ever look like they were going to draw the game, but they just invited unnecessary pressure, which brings me on to the Hearts game. Celtic absolutely blew Hearts out the water in that first half, and we watched the game live, and I thought that game was going to end 3-4, 5-0 Celtic. Could have been at half-time. But what happened in the second half was madness. First half, constant attacking wave after wave. Second half, it kind of flipped. And whilst Celtic still went on to win the game, there was a big talking point. You know, Boyce had the penalty, missed it, etc., etc. But yeah, not as comfortable that game. It was a bit nippy, but still got the win. That's the important factor there from Celtic. And then, of course, Dundee United 0-0 for the whole of the game. Hard to break down those sort of teams, but managed again finding a way of winning, which is massively important psychologically going into season, picking up 3 points. Whereas we look at Rangers' form at the moment. And everyone's slaughtering it at the moment, but their last 5 games is it's still unbeaten since Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has taken over. It's just since the return of the winter break, obviously 1-1 at Pataudry, which on paper doesn't really sound that bad for me in a title race. Rangers have always struggled at Pataudry, so it wasn't any red flags for me necessarily. I wasn't overly concerned that the fact that Rangers dropped points at Aberdeen, because years gone by under Gerrard, they've always sort of struggled at Pataudry. It's always been the case. So yeah, I kind of look beyond that one. Came back against Stirling, expected to beat Stirling, beat them 4-0 rather comfortably. There was slight warning signs, I suppose, not warning signs, but question marks over, again, the tactics against Livingston. There was no one. Well, to be fair, Livingston Rangers were dominant in that game. Again, they found a way of winning in the end. But this brings me back to the fact with that Itten, there was no one to there was so many chances going in. It wasn't a case of, sometimes you play against these teams, they're in a low block and they make it hard for you to go past them. In that match, that wasn't the case. Livingston, yes, they did sit back and stuff like that, but there was so many chances. Alex Lowry, as I said, stuck balls literally right into the box, and all they needed was a striker there. If Buffalo started, and if Kemar Roof, in my opinion, started, Jermaine Defoe, if he was still a Rangers player, started, those chances would have converted into goals. So that was an opportunity there in that game, 1-0. But yeah, Rangers managed to get the win, and that brings me on to Ross County now. That's the sort of the red flags that everybody's looking at the moment. Again, Rangers, I felt, didn't play particularly bad in that game. Attacking-wise, I felt created a lot of chances. Again, if you look at turning points in the game, they were unlucky at 3-2, maybe not to make it 4-2. Ball came off the post. But there's no getting away from it. Those 3 goals were so sloppy. And I know Alan McGregor's took a lot of stick, and rightfully so, because everyone applauds him when he's done good. But those 3 goals that he, the 2 goals that he dropped and played a part in, they were criminal. And of course, Calvin Bassey. So there was 3 really, really bad defensive errors. And that makes me bring into the thing. That's going into this game. That could have been a comfortable win. But look, are you going to look at that from a Rangers perspective? Was it just a one-off, or is it a sign for more of the things to come? And I'm going to go with, I think it was just a blip. I don't think we'll see that happen yet again. I don't think we'll see that happen in the Old Firm game. I think players are coming back, and I think it is a one-off. And this is where it gets to me, This is where it gets to me. We're coming to the point now, what we're going to be thinking ahead of today's game. What's going to be the score in this match? And I've been thinking on it for a long, long time. In terms of, I've been thinking about it since January. I was thinking about it throughout the last group of games. And for me, I've always said there on a. I think it will be a draw. I don't know. I just have a weird feeling that it is going to be a draw, and I think it's going to be a scoring draw at 2-2. I don't know why. I don't know why. We'll see tomorrow, but I don't know. I don't ever have this prediction with an Old Firm. Usually, I don't usually go with a draw or anything like that. But today, I don't know, this week, over the last couple of weeks, I've just had it's building up to be a draw. Rangers, you've got to remember, have only lost one game in 61, and I know that people were, talking about that game against Ross County, but I don't think you can just judge them on that. I think it's going to be an interesting game, and I think it's going to be goals, but I do think it will end 2-2 at Celtic Park. I think it's going to be a scored draw. Neil O'Connor says 3-1 Celtic. Cameron Keller says Vincent O'Brien, do you even know? Good to see Gallant Pioneer choosing in. KP Boy says 2-0. The thing is, right, this is the thing as well. To be fair, another thing here in terms of the game as well itself. I question. Obviously, we know how Celtic are going to play. We know Celtic are going to be coming out and they're going to go out all attacking. Look, they don't change their philosophy for anybody. No matter who's coming to town, no matter where they're going, they're always going to play the same way of football, and that's attacking wave after wave, wave after wave, wave after wave. But Rangers, for me, it's the thing that gets me a bit, I suppose, causes a bit of anxiety, if you want to say it that way, is that I think Giovanni Van Bronckhorst has this philosophy. It's get a goal, and then once you've got the goal, you sit back. And I don't think Rangers' defence is good enough to just sit there and absorb the pressure right now. I know, as I say, key players out, but just sitting there absorbing pressure. I think the key part about Gerrard is when Rangers got a goal, they went for the kill. They went to go try and get that second goal. They went to try and go get that third goal just to offer that buffer rather than just protecting a one-goal lead. And I think that could be slightly worrying. Say if Rangers took the lead tomorrow at Celtic Park, would they then just sit back for the whole of the game and just invite so much pressure wave after wave from Celtic? Which I don't think that's a very good tactic at all. Especially, say, if you take the lead in the 20th minute. Are you just going to sit there for the whole of the game and just keep going, and just absorbing all of the pressure? I really don't think that's the way to go in that game. But we'll see. Look, derby games are always different. 2-1 Rangers says Alexander. Roof Tav on the goals. 5-0 Rangers says Kimple kind of man. Callum Pioneer says let's be serious. County fluke to draw. They did indeed. Rangers letting 3 goals. You have the check talking about 90-minute goal. LMFAO. Andy Brown says, does any other Jazz fans think no support tomorrow will be a factor? Again, that's another factor. Look, I do, as much as people say fans haven't, it doesn't make a difference, you're playing a game. Look, no Rangers fans there as well. Could that play a big part into it? We'll see. From a Celtic perspective, this is my question with Celtic. So, as I say, we've questioned Rangers there, their faults. We've looked into their faults. As I said, I don't see with Gio, if Rangers go 1-0 up, will they just be sitting back for the whole of the game and just absorbing pressure? But my question here with Celtic is, with Celtic, are they going to be coming out for the first half like we've seen against Hearts, where they go wave after wave after wave, but we seen a complete different Celtic side in the second half. It was completely different. Does Rangers just have to absorb the pressure for the first half, and in the second half we're going to see a different Celtic team because they've run out of energy? So that's my question there to Celtic as well. And also another question for the Celtic faithful is that despite, I know it sounds like a weird one, and it's a weird factor in football, but that psychological edge as well. I think Rangers struggled with it for a long, long time, especially coming back from the Premiership. They were almost beaten by Celtic in the tunnel. They just couldn't find a way of beating them. Whatever it was, they just had this blip in them. I think. Does Celtic have that now? I mean, I don't know. We've got to see. They've got to end the hoodoo at some point. It's gonna end at some point, and it could be tomorrow. We'll see. We'll definitely see. We will blow Rangers away first half 2-0, says we will never forget one. I'm better than Yakamaka, says Michael Stone. We might have to let 3, but you can score, so you can't. Hope Rangers get a penalty to add to the comedy, says Matt Gunner. I think Rangers will win 2-1. Couldn't he blow Dundee United away, but you'll blow the champions away. So, yeah. I mean, as I say, I've got 2 critiques of both sides, and then I've obviously got positives of both sides on what they offer and what they can do. But as I say, just trying to dissect both of the sides. And while Celtic are the informed team in terms of results going into this game, you know, it wasn't a very convincing win against Dundee United, and towards the end, it wasn't very convincing against Hearts. So when you're playing against a better opposition, are you going to get that sort of not the rub of the green? Because Celtic worked to get the win. You know, they kept on going and deserved the win. They were relentless. But what I'm saying is, if I'm trying to find a way to word it, so I say the last 2 games have been pretty nippy. You know, they've been right to the death. Dundee United and Hearts, and one of those games is at home, by the way, obviously Celtic Park. You know, if Rangers are obviously a better opposition than Dundee United and Hearts, is that going to play a bit of a factor in there coming up against a better opposition? Will they be able to get over the line with the win? And as I say, I don't know. That's a question there as well. But then again, look, that winning, I think that win against Dundee United for Celtic was huge. It was massive. Getting that win late on, because imagine the talk what it would have been. Right, Rangers have dropped points at Dingwall. Celtic have a chance to close the gap before the derby, and then they end up drawing to Dundee United. Imagine the headlines after that game. If obviously Leo Labada scored the goal, great, but imagine the headlines after that game if they didn't score. That's why I do think that goal was huge for Celtic going into it, because psychologically, I think gives them a better boost. We're going to take a few more comments here in the live chat, guys, and we'll probably end up wrapping it up. I'm knackered. I've just done that Hibs and Hearts game as well. And by the way, let's hope it's not like that tomorrow, because there was no goals in both of the derbies today, Dundee and Edinburgh derby. Better opposition than Ross County, you mean? Ange's team training sessions are very intense. They don't have a lot of energy for 90 minutes. Lee Keenan says 2-0 Rangers. I'd take 0-0 Cameron. Okay, here's a question for you, troops. Here's a question for both sets of supporters. Okay, would you... Who would be more... Who would benefit off a draw more out of both of them? Out of both... Would both sides take a draw or not? I feel like this... The fans that I've seen online, I think Rangers would take a draw. Against Celtic, but I think Celtic on the mindset where they won't want to draw. They want to win. They want to go top tomorrow. But I don't think a draw would necessarily be bad for a Rangers perspective at Parkhead. I really don't. I think if Rangers could go there and not get beat, I think that would be a big point. And I know we always talk about wins in derbies, and it's all about winning, and it is in Glasgow. It's always about winning. But I think if Rangers get a draw there, I think that's a good point for Rangers. And I would equally think it's a good point for Celtic as well, just because of the record in the derby games. But I do think a point would be more of a positive for Rangers. And I don't think it would be a negative result if Rangers got a draw at Parkhead tomorrow night. But yeah, Celtic definitely, they want the win. They want to end this hoodoo, and they want to go top of the table. So I'm expecting it's going to be an intense game. It is going to be a really, really intense game, and I'm really, really looking forward to it now. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good one. I can't wait. We're going to be live for it tomorrow. there's nothing much more to say on the Old Firm, guys. Who do you think's going to win? Let's take some one last score predictions, some goal predictions, and yeah, then we'll wrap it up here, troops. Unless we got any questions for me, about the derby, guys, I'm happy to answer. Goal scorers and stuff like that, man of the matches. Draw's good enough till we get to the boys, says we will not forget one. Matt Gunner says 2-1 a whitewash these days. Calamar FC 1872 says I don't mind a draw. Idan, as a Rangers fan, the point would benefit us more. Celtic have dropped more points than Rangers, that's why they're second. No rocket science. Gallant Pioneer says 1-0 to the famous. Come on the old famous 2-0 on my birthday, says Ryan. Celtic will win no problem. 3-0, he says. Diallo and Roof to score. Draw, Celtic would go top on Saturday anyway. 3-1 Hoggy Boy says. Cameron Keller says 3-1 Rangers. Martin Ross says 3-2 Celtic. Stuart says 3-0 Rangers 100%. 3-2 Jota, Abada, Dazen. 3-2 Jota, Abada, Dazen, and then Roof and Kent to score. There's a question. There's one game that Ryan Kent always steps up for Rangers. Is the Old Firm derby. Could he be a game changer in that match? You know, he likes playing in that game. I also think this is a big game for Jota as well. I know a lot of Celtic fans hang there. I personally think Jota's Celtic's best player at the moment. I know it's early days, but I do think he's their best player at the moment. And I think this is a big game for him. And I think there's a lot. There'll be a lot. Not pressure on him. I think he thrives under. I think he absolutely loves it. But this is a chance for him to really stake his claim, you know, and write himself into the folklore if you want at Celtic, and to find play a massive match and be the difference maker in that game. But I think that'd be a part of Rangers' tactics. Try and mark him out of the game. Jota Celtic are a better side with Jota in the team, and if Jota's firing and doing bits, then you know there's going to be a lot of chances created from a Celtic perspective. Finlay 67 says 2-1 Eaton, O'Reilly and Abada, so he's going with big Eaton on the pitch. Kent is always a threat, says Cameron Callis, RFC. No, he is always a threat. But I feel like he can go inconsistent sometimes. But Old Firm's he's always stepping up all the time, isn't he? Who's my predicted lineup for both? I did it right at the start, but I'll go through it again just before we wrap up. But basically, I'm going with Celtic. Celtic lineup is Joe Hart, Ralston on the right, Starfelt, Carter Vickers in the centre back. Out on the left is Jananovic, better option than Greg Taylor, definitely. In the midfield, again, I know there's talk about Callum McGregor and Tom Rogic about one could be possibly fit, one could be flying into Glasgow tomorrow, but I don't personally think that they will start with those. I think it's going to be McCarthy in the midfield. He's the better option than Sorrow, I would say. Although Sorrow had a good season last year, so maybe Sorrow, but I think he would go with McCarthy. He will go with McCarthy. He will go with Matt O'Reilly. Been really impressed with him in his first 2 games for Celtic. He's looked like he likes to get on the ball and make things happen in the attacking end. The other midfielder is who is that? Rio Tate. I mean, he's a new signing. He's been pretty good for Celtic since he's signing. And then the front 3 will probably be Jota, Yakimakis. Again, talk days of Maeda. Maeda could be there, but he played 20 minutes this afternoon or for Japan. So I'd say it was Yakimakis and Lillibada for Celtic. As for Rangers, it's Alan McGregor. Alan McGregor's got to start. He's the best goalkeeper the Rangers have got, despite what happened at the weekend. Tavernier at right back. Centre-back Connor Goldson. Other centre-back Leon Balogun. Leon Balogun is, he's coming back. He's an out-and-out centre-back, whereas Calvin Bassey's been covering. He's done a good job, but I think it's time to put maybe Leon Balogun back in. Out on the left is Borna Barisic. Borna Barisic kind of always shows up in these games, some good crosses and all the rest of it. In the midfield, you got to go Kamara. Joe Aribo and Scott Arfield. Scott Arfield's one of those guys that really gets in and amongst it, especially on these games. He knows what it's all about. And he's been really, really impressive under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. So that would be my midfield there of Kamara, Joe Aribo again, he's everyone knows my opinions on Joe Aribo. He's fantastic, amazing. I can't keep speaking any highly of him. He's such a good player, especially travelling with the ball. And then my front three for Rangers would be Ryan Kent, Kemar Roof, and Amad Diallo. I know there's going to be an immediate question about Aaron Ramsey. Look, he's not going to be fit. He did admit it in his interview, and I don't think he'll be there. Ramsey won't make it tomorrow. He'll be for Hearts a bit later on. Who else have we got here? No matter what's going to be intense, just remember it's only a game of football. Celtic can keep the pressure up for 90 minutes. They win. If Rangers drop their desire, then Celtic win, says Gordon Hanning. Should be a walk in the park, said David Murray. Everyone going for it. Itten Kent Roof. No. I can't see how many Rangers fans who want Itten to start tomorrow, man. That'd be mental. Why would you want Itten to start? Hi Dan, how are you? What's your score prediction? I've gone 2-2. I've gone 2-2, and I think it will be tight, and I think it will be a scored draw. And again, I say how it is. I'm not just saying it's a draw because it's a draw. I say how it is in all my predictions. And I genuinely feel like it's going to be a draw. I genuinely feel like that way. And I'm not just saying that. I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw tomorrow. That is my honest opinion. And I think a draw would be a good point for Rangers. I really do. And Celtic, I mean, it's a good point for Celtic. Celtic would be still 2 points in it. But yeah, I think a draw, especially for Rangers going to Parkhead, would be a good point. I hope we get a penalty just for the tears. That was a joke, says Andy Brown. Lennon walked alone. Yeah. Well, either way, guys, it's going to be a cracker. Might bring out a couple more videos tomorrow, guys. Please do smash the old like button. I'm going to get to my pit. It's been a long day. Watch that Hearts Hibs game. No goals action. But, troops, thank you so much. Oh, so Gio might start Itten because Itten's similar striker he managed at Feyenoord. Only difference is the striker had 20 goals a season and Itten has 2. Exactly, mate. I've already said it. I'm going to say it now again. I'm just going to say it again now. If Itten starts for Rangers tomorrow, Celtic win the game 3-0. I think it's that bad. Again, I'm not going to keep repeating myself, but starting with Itten is like starting with 10 men. And again, this might get clipped tomorrow, and he might score a hat-trick or something like that. But for me, it's not that he's a bad player. It's literally he doesn't fit into Rangers' system. Connor says, do you think Ramsey will perform well in a blue top or flop like the rest of the hyped-up players like Joey Barton? Well, Aaron Ramsey and Joey Barton aren't the same. You can't compare those two. They're not the same. Aaron Ramsey's a caliber above. Joey Barton came from the Championship. Joey Barton was good on his day, but he was only ever a mid-table Premier League player. He wasn't a top Premier League player. He never played at the highest level in the Premier League. He played at a decent level, I don't think Joey Barton you can compare to Aaron Ramsey. I think when we're talking about Aaron Ramsey, we're sort of comparing him to sort of the Gazzers who sort of come through, maybe Roy Keane who's come through the door at Celtic, those sort of signings, those big names that have come through the door. And bearing in mind, this isn't Aaron Ramsey. I know Jermaine Defoe's a big name, but this isn't Aaron Ramsey coming for the last year of his career. I know Jermaine Defoe did well at Rangers, but he's not late 30s, right at the end of his career. For a midfielder, 31's a decent age, maybe just over the peak, but you're at a good level. He's coming to Rangers at a good age. And I do think it. Gallant Pioneer says 1-1. Paul McGarry says 1-1. A lot of draws coming through now, actually. But I think Aaron Ramsey, a fit Aaron Ramsey will be good. Just as we're about to wrap this up, with Aaron Ramsey, the thing is, I know a lot of people are jumping to his Juventus career or whatever. Look, sometimes things don't work at different clubs. If you actually look at a certain player who come from the Serie A, that being Paul Gascoigne, it didn't really work for him out in Lazio. He had injuries and stuff like that, and he came to Rangers and he was the best thing ever that happened to sort of Scottish football. But with Aaron Ramsey, a lot of people are pointing out, and rightfully so, look, he's not played a lot of Juventus and all the rest of it. But if you've watched him at Wales, and I'm not going to say I watched him at Wales, but I've been hearing about people Joe Ledley spoke about him earlier on, about when he played for Wales earlier on. So he hadn't been playing for Juventus, but during the international break, he was playing for Wales and he was the best player in the park. He was doing a lot of box-to-box midfield and, he was creating chances and stuff like that. And he said he looked really, really good for Wales. I did watch him in the Euros. He was fantastic in the Euros in the summer. And again, so he's not been playing a lot of football, but he can still do it. He's still got the talent there. It's just showing that desire. So if you can get an Aaron Ramsey that's shown up for Wales last year in 2021, by the way, I'm not talking about 2016 Aaron Ramsey down back at Arsenal and stuff like that. I'm talking about 2021 Aaron Ramsey in the summer that we've seen and earlier on in the international break. Then Rangers have got a good signing on their hands. I really do. If he stays fit, it'll be a good signing. I really do think that. Larson plus Laudrup, best players in the SPFL. I mean, Larson definitely, but no, Larson and Laudrup definitely. But I'm saying Larson wasn't a big name when he came. Larson was made in Scotland. So when people say Larson, Larson was made in Scotland. He wasn't a name before he came, sort of thing. 3-1 to Rangers. Right, anyway, troops, I'm going to wrap it up this time. I might do another little build-up later on, but we're going to be live for the Old Firm Derby tomorrow. Cannot wait for it. If you're watching this on replay, guys, please do smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time, guys. Take care, look after yourselves, and cannot wait for this one. Peace.